Hi everyone, it's me again with another video. I'd like to start with a brief disclaimer. What I'm going to show you in this video is not a scientific experiment, so the result should not be considered as undisputed facts. The method I used for this experiment was my personal approach to finding out whether a horse's breed influences the spawning of animals, particularly in more unfavorable spawn points. With that out of the way, let's begin. When players discuss what makes a horse good or the best, they typically focus on stats like speed, stamina, bravery, and appearance. However, very few people consider whether a specific horse breed has any impact on spawning animals, especially the rare varieties. Is there a statistic that indicates a horse's ability to influence the spawning of animals? After conducting some experiments that we will explore together, I confidently answered that question with a resounding yes. I believe that a horse's breed can affect the spawning of animals. This belief stems from my recent realization that not all spawn points are created equal, which will be the main focus of our discussion in this video. But what do I mean when I say that not all spawn points are created equal? I'm not a coder and I don't have the expertise to dive into the game files, though I wish I could. However, I suspect that each spawn point has its own specific activation ratio or percentage associated with it. When you visit a specific location, there is a certain percentage chance of encountering an animal at that particular spawn point. Some spawn points have a higher likelihood of having animals compared to others. You may go to a certain area and see a specific animal there. However, a question arises: is that animal present at that specific location all the time? While I understand that factors such as weather and time of the day can influence whether a spawn point is populated, let's assume that all conditions are favorable. Would the animal still be present if you visited that location? Look at this example. Why is there no sign of that moose? I'm reloading the same saved file, but the moose isn't always present. If I try this 10 times, how many times will the moose appear? It doesn't happen 100% of the time, and I'm not sure if there is a specific term for it, but I refer to it as a percentage of probability. Even if such a term exists, how would you go about testing it? Luckily, I just found what I think is the perfect testing ground. Sajuk6 is a community member who has a wealth of information on the Nexus mods page. After checking his map of cougar and panther spawn locations, I realized that there are 8 panther spawn points in this area. This location is relatively isolated and lacks many factors that can disrupt panther spawns, so I decided to test my theory here. I began by making this template to record my findings and started the hunt using different horses. I quickly realized that there were more panther spawn points than what was indicated on Sajuk6's map, so I began documenting these spawn locations. Let me explain how I find out the number of spawn points. I watched all my recorded videos, and whenever I spotted a panther on the minimap, I paused the video and reversed it frame by frame until I find where the red blip first appeared. Then, in Photoshop, I transferred the blip onto my map. After completing my hunt, this is what I ended up with. This discovery became a significant factor in my belief that the breed of the horse affects the spawning of animals, but let's not get sidetracked. At the conclusion of my hunting, I compiled a record of my findings. As you can see, the results are not bad at all. All the horses performed somewhat similarly. I encountered 5 panther spawns in 5 attempts with most horses. So, the conclusion might be that there is no difference between horses' breed when it comes to hunting, right? Wrong. Let me explain why. As I reviewed the outcomes, I felt something was missing. Does anyone have any idea of what it could be? The answer is the location of the spawn points. So I modified my template to include a slot for the spawn point number. Then I methodically went through all my recorded videos and added the spawn point number where the panthers appeared during each hunt. And this is what I ended up with. After incorporating this information into my hunting record, I had a more complete picture. I spent a considerable amount of time analyzing it, trying to make sense of the data. It wasn't until I looked at the records side by side that I had my eureka moment. Do you notice a pattern? This is the pattern. Those specific spawn points marked in green are the ones that spawned panthers most frequently. I refer to these as the spawn points with a higher probability of spawning. As the next step, I decided to remove all instances of these points from my records. After all, I wanted to identify which horse could spawn panthers at spawn points that were not easily spawned panthers. And this is the results I ended up with. You can see a significant difference when comparing the before and after of this redaction. And let me show you the conclusion. The biggest surprise for me was the Nakota, which scored 4 out of 5. On the other hand, my biggest disappointment was the Tennessee Walker. I expected much more from Thoroughbred, Andalusian, Mustang, and Dutch Warm Blood, all of which were at level 4 of bonding with the snake saddle. However, it is important to remember that this isn't a scientific experiment and probably tons of flaw in it. And if you were to conduct such an experiment, the ranking might be different. I have had identical horses in different playthroughs that shows completely different characteristics. One horse was brave and loyal, while another was like a chicken and always tried to run away from me. So don't be discouraged if your favorite horse doesn't rank at the top. In the end, I'm convinced beyond doubt that the horse's breed can significantly impact the outcome of a spawn, particularly regarding the spawn point with a low percentage of spawn. This experiment showed me that some horses are more effective than others at spawning animals in locations that are not particularly generous in their spawn. Do you have a favorite horse for hunting? Do you believe that the saddle makes a difference for the horse's performance in hunting? How about the horse's coat? Does that play a role in hunting? Given what you know now, would you consider using a different horse for hunting If your current horse is not among the top tier, please share your thoughts. I appreciate those of you who are still watching and apologize for any boredom. I thought some of you might find this experiment interesting and useful. I hope I wasn't wrong. With that, I hope to see you in the next video soon. Have a great day wherever you are.